Quick hits. This is where I talk about three things that have been in the news that have caught my eye and perhaps caught the eye of many of you watching today. Starbucks changes CEOs. We're going to show you how powerful good management is. And when you have or bring on a great CEO that has done really well from where his previous job was, how powerful it could be for the company, but also the share price of their stock. Canadian home sales have been flat. They've gone up year over year, but still running near at the 10-year average. And finally, U.S. oil production hits record highs. This is something I've been talking about on our show for, I think, a few years now, how the United States has become the largest producer in the world of energy today, picking up the slack for OPEC nations, for Russia. The United States just continues to produce. So let's get to the first one here. Starbucks changes CEOs. And it's quite interesting to see their charts, how powerful when you change management, how powerful that could be to your company shares. And there we have it. Starbucks. Look at the spike in shares. I believe the stock went up over 20% that day where the announcement was made that the Chipotle, everyone knows Chipotle restaurant chain, their CEO was leaving Chipotle and taking on the job at Starbucks. If some of you recall back to when the CEO took over at Chipotle, so the new Starbucks CEO took over at Chipotle many years ago, the turnaround that was made at Chipotle. Chipotle restaurants were not doing as well. CEO came in, turned everything around, and I guess now he's perhaps looking for different challenges or more challenges, and now he's decided to jump ship to Starbucks, which has clearly been struggling not only as a company, but obviously their share prices as well. Let's take a look at Chipotle chart. You can see here just after the 12th of August, you can see a sharp decline. So Starbucks higher, Chipotle down in terms of share price, and that is all to do with the announcement of the Starbucks CEO leaving and the new CEO from Chipotle coming in, who has worked wonders at Chipotle restaurants, and a lot of people believe that he's going to do a lot of good things for Starbucks. The second quick hit that I touched on briefly already, Canadian home sales flat for basically really for quite a while now. And we have a chart to show this. You can see here that overall, the home sales in July were slightly down month over month, 0.7%, but up about, just under 5% from the same period last year. There's your 10-year average. You can see it spiked above in between 2020 and 22, then below 2023, and remains below the 10-year average in 2024. But overall, you could pretty much draw a straight line across, and it's been pretty flat. And I think one of the reasons why things have come down recently is obviously interest rates. Interest rates being at a high for as long as they have been in our country, that has caused home sales to soften. I think going forward, if we do see a cut in September, followed by another cut, at least one more, maybe two more this year, and then we see another 3 or 4 cuts next year, we can bring down that Bank of Canada rate down, bring down prime rate to somewhere. Be great if we could see it in and around 4.5%. I know it's still over 6% today, but if we could see it, I guess maybe even at the very least 5%, I think that would work wonders for the housing market. And you could see a pretty active housing market, selling season in the spring of 2025, if they can cut rates a number of times before then. Not sure if the Bank of Canada wants to see that, because the last thing I think they want is a red hot housing market, which would lead to higher inflation. But definitely, I think rate cuts will spur on a nice rally and activity in the housing market. I know, talking to a few of my mortgage advisors or real estate individuals, they'll be very happy. Mortgage brokers and real estate agents will be very happy to see an active spring housing market. The third point to touch on, which is U.S. oil production. And this is interesting because when you talk to, or you hear, I should say, Republicans or former President Trump speak, he talks about how he's going to drill, baby, drill. And that's great. And he talks about how by drilling, It's going to bring down inflation. They're going to be the most dominant. United States will be the most dominant oil producer in the world. Well, I got news for former President Trump. They already are. The United States is already the most dominant oil producer in the world. Now, you want to go from 13 million barrels a day to 14 million barrels a day? Sure, that's great. You want to produce more natural gas? Sure, that's great. But the United States is already the most dominating and largest oil producer in the world. We have our first, or our chart on that to show. We could, here it is. And it talks about, there you have it, breaking news. U.S. crude oil production has officially hit a record 13.4 million barrels per day. Daily oil production has increased by 22% over the last 4 years. Since 2008, production has skyrocketed 350%, 3.8 million barrels per day. The U.S. is now the world's largest oil producer. You can see the chart here, which clearly shows the oil production. It's just fantastic. It's come at a time where the world needs it, right? When you hear about cutbacks by OPEC nations, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and many other nations that make up OPEC, they've been cutting back, especially the Saudis, who used to be the largest oil producer in the world. The fact that the U.S. has come at a time, their production increases have come at a time to help the rest of the world has been fantastic. You couple that with what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, and obviously countries no longer importing oil from Russia. The United States has definitely picked up the slack. So these are 3 points, 3 things in the news that I think many of you may have seen, wanted to comment on each of them. But I think, as I said, the most staggering thing for me is understanding that the United States is now the largest energy/oil producer in the world today.